Welcome back to the process. Week 5 was wild, and we were on it. Colts, Lions, Texans, Jags, all right sides, all called there. DFS lineups hit the right stacks, just missed the crown. That's how it goes. Right players, sometimes wrong combos, but the process, money anyway on DFS this week. Now we've got the Giants blowing up the Eagles on Thursday night, Lamar still on the shelf, and Miami in a full-on identity crisis. The league's upside down. This is where we thrive. The edge gets thinner every week, but we keep finding it. We don't chase variance. We weaponize that. It's time to reload. This is Tiger Bomb Sports Audio Entertainment, where we learn, scout, win, and repeat. Let's dive right into last week, talk a little bit of accountability, what we got right, the things we might have missed on really quickly so that we can scurry along. All right. So, first up, 49ers Rams. We faded Stafford. That was right. Let's see. Picked up. He was we got 5 sacks from him actually. The Niners defense controlled that one. Purdy 3 for 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. DFS played a little bit, it paid off. Okay. Vikings 27, Browns 24 in London. We hit on this game exactly as called. Rookie Dylan Gabriel looked fine, but overwhelmed. Ran it 21 times for 90 yards and the score. So that was a nice call out. Vikings defense sealed it late. DFS, Mason running back value cash. Raiders 13, 34. Another hit for us. Jonathan Taylor exploded 27 carries, 158 yards, 2 tutties. 3 tutties on the day. We had him. Colts defense pressured Geno 6 times and forced 2 picks. DFS score core smashed right there for us. JT and Pittman, we called that out last week and it worked. Giants 20, Saints 27 in week 5. Called it clean. Saints at home. Dart struggles on the road. Olave 688 and 1. And Shaheen split the love. So Shaheen bit into a little bit of what we wanted from Olave, really affecting us not playing Olave this week. But Giants looked predictably flat without Neighbors on the road. And for DFS, the Saints stack sort of paid off a little bit there. Boys, Jets. All right, so we had a mixed results here. Dak Cook, 31 to 37 for 4 tutties. We read the shootout right, but didn't push Dak enough in tournaments. Garrett Wilson, 8 for 92 and a touchdown. Kept the Jets alive, kept us alive. Right script, wrong stack perhaps. Eagles 20, Broncos 13. We called a low scoring grind. We did not have the Broncos won. The Eagles lost, We did not have the Eagles losing that game. We did call the low scoring grind. Hurts threw only 184 yards, but the defense sacked Knicks 5 times, essentially. DFS, Eagles defense, and Browns mini stacks hit. And moving on to the Panthers 20, Dolphins 17, a big miss right here. Total collapse spot. We expected Miami to roll. Tua threw 2 interceptions. Achane got hurt a bit, banged up. Panthers steal one late. Woody Marks only had 7 touches, 18 yards. Big dud right there. Biggest whiff of the week by far on our end here. Texans 28, Ravens 14. Another big hit. No Lamar, no chance. Stroud popped off 254 and 2. Nick Chubb 96 yards in the tutty. Handled business. Houston defense 4 sacks, 2 interceptions. DFS, if you use Stroud, those stacks cashed, right? So Titans 19, Cardinals 17. Big miss right here. We had Arizona. They handed it away. I don't have a better way to say it. DeMarcado fumble on the goal line costs DFS and real points. And basically, if you look at the replay, I think he did have the ball as he touched the goal line, but he made it so close that they made him pay. They sent a statement to him, the league did, by saying, you guys should hold on to the football until you're sure you cross the plane. So ruling against him there cost us DFS and cost them in real life. Ayo Maynard led with 82 yards but no touchdown. Just an ugly game between those two. Buccaneers 30, Seahawks 27. Everything we wanted in this game. Big hit. Perfect read. White found the end zone. Walker and Jason both paid off. Baker was 303 for 2, kept it rolling. DFS core print job right there. Lions 31, Bengals 14. Another hit here. Recall the 2-score win in the stack structure. Amon-Ra, Gibbs, and Jamar brought it back. DFS smash. We were invested in Jamar Chase. I did not hear a lot of this from people last week. We expected him to get his production, talk through why that would be, and we got it. Commanders 23, Chargers 20. Big miss right here. O-line issues bit hard. That's what got me. Herbert sacked 5 times, lost Hampton. Run game got stalled. Kamani Vidal stepped in, 11 for 44. We like the Chargers. They fell flat. Basically, the Commanders' different team when they have their leader, Jaden Daniels, out. Patriots 26, Bills 13. Big miss here. Buffalo sleepwalked and got punked at home. Allen, 2 picks. James Cook held to 3.4 yards per carry average. Basically, Drake May was steady with 248 and 2. We ate chalk and lost on that one. Chargers 23, Chiefs 20, big hit. We called a gritty sort of a game right here. Can't say big hit. We had the Chiefs winning this game, but the game tone and style we did call. Etienne, 122 total yards in the Jags defense, forced 3 turnovers. Mahomes was fine, 262 and 2, but no support. DFS, Jacksonville defense, and Etienne mini stack would have won the day there if you played on Monday night. So, all in all, total, you think about all those games, we can really count 8 hits. We can count 3 misses. We got a couple of mixed there. DFS accuracy, we're going to say around 70% this week 5. Sharp reads on game scripts, just to miss a couple of ownership angles. But week 6, we reload, refine the combos, and hunt the takedowns, right? So that's where we are. At that, now that we've got a little bit of accountability out of the way, start our show here, we can slide along to truly a segment that I hope you guys find valuable. Would you rather? We're going to take a look at some of the top conundrums on the internet this week. People asking, should I start this guy or should I start that guy in my flex? And we're going to be so kind as to go over those conundrums right here today, right now. Starting with Michael Carter and Romeo Doubs. I'm going to take Doubs here. Carter, I know, had the nice week last week. I expect him to break down essentially at some point. But Doubs is the number 1 primary wide receiver for Love. They're in a nice spot this week in their matchup. Truly expect Doubs to perform, whereas I do expect DeMercado to mix in a little bit more with Carter this week. They don't have a choice. They've got injured guys. They got to do that, right? It's in terms of Arizona. So, a tougher matchup against the Colts. I don't expect the Cardinals to be leading or running clock. They're going to be trying to keep up in that one, whereas Doubs has a chance to be in the end zone just as much as Carter. I'll take Doubs. Next conundrum, Tataria McMacklin or Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. I will take Krosky Merritt. I think the Commanders win their game, and so he can get some touches as they try to run clock. I'm not sold on him as a premium talent yet, but in this certain conundrum, we definitely want to take him. If there's any Panthers wide receiver, we want Leggett this week, as we'll talk about in a little bit. So we'll take Merritt here. Jacoby Myers or Michael Carter, and I'm going to take Jacoby Myers here. Raiders finally have a friendly script game, if you will. They are at home. I like this. The tight end is injured as well, and so they don't have Brock Bowers, and so in a pass-friendly environment, I expect them to go to Jacoby Myers, whereas, again, as I just said, Michael Carter is going to split that time in the backfield. Moving on, DK Metcalf or DeAndre Swift. So, I like both guys this week, but I expect the Browns to play the Steelers tough and lose, but they won't make it easy. Metcalf will get his. I think he has a chance to get in the end zone, but so does Swift. Very much the same or better chance. Swift could get in twice. He gets the goal line touches, right? And so just his involvement around that game script, particularly against this opponent, the Commanders for the Bears, I will take Swift over Metcalf, but for seasonal, feel fine about Metcalf. Roll him out. Should be good. In great moments, can only do so much. Like, barely gets over double digits. He's in a nice spot, but I don't know how much that translates versus Brian Thomas, who I think is in a smash spot against the Seahawks secondary that is down several guys this week or have a bunch of them doubtful right now. It doesn't look good. They could be with a few holes out there. And ultimately, what I thought was going to be a tougher defense to pass against becomes one that we want to exploit, right? And so Brian Thomas is the way to do that. I like that. Ramondre Stevenson this week or Romeo Doubs. Give me Doubs. Stevenson's still in that backfield timeshare, if you will, with Trevion Henderson. Whereas, again, as we said, Romeo Doubs is the number 1. He gets the goal line looks too. So I like Doubs there. This week, Rico Dowdle or Brian Thomas Jr. Dowdle has a tougher matchup. I expect the Panthers to be trailing, and we just talked about the virtues of Brian Thomas Jr. I'm going to take him this week in that conundrum. And then DK Metcalf or Kenneth Walker III. I'll take Kenneth Walker this week. Just the involvement, the production, the yards per carry. Against, I'm not going to say a super favorable opponent, but fair opponent. But that's the same thing for Metcalf. Fair opponent, right? So I would give the slight edge to Walker there. Would much rather have him in the flex over Metcalf this week, if you will. Trevion Henderson or Khalil Shakir. again, Henderson is in that timeshare with Stevenson. I picked Romeo Doubs against Stevenson. I'm picking Khalil Shakir here against Henderson. We know the Bills spread it around. However, Khalil seems to be the number one guy, and so we'll go there. All right, Rome Odunze or Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt. Guys, I'm going to get that messed up all year. Give me Rome Odunze. I expect the Bears to be chasing. He's in a very nice spot to produce Monday night versus, Merritt can get in the end zone. He can get those goal line looks, but I'm not sold on the premium talent part of that. We've seen Odunze be a part of what the Bears want. All right, Darren Waller or Romeo Doubs, both end zone targets. Waller's not running up and down the field, though. He's not going to get a lot of yards. He can get touchdowns at this point until he breaks down at some point. Remember, he took some time off from football, just coming back now. So there is that aspect of it. I'm going to take Romeo Doubs in this one, just as much of an end zone target as Waller. And our final little choice here, Deebo Samuel or Rachaad White this week. McLaurin's going to play. I think that opens up a world of different options for the Commanders, whereas Bucky Irving is not going to play this week. So that's going to allow Tampa Bay to have to lean more on White again like they did last week. So of these two, I will take White this week. And that is our Would You Rather. I hope that helps you guys determine in any conundrum that you come up against this week who you would rather. All right, before we go any further, I should say, let's talk a little bit about Fraction really quick. If you're a SaaS founder, you know the pain. Scaling fast without blowing millions on full-time hires. That's where Fraction comes in. They give you senior US-based engineers and CTOs for 10 to 30 hours a week. These are vetted pros who deliver 2 to 4 times more with today's AI tools. Founders use Fraction to speed up shipping, fix legacy messes, and even prep for M&A, all without $200K plus salaries. You can start with a 1-week risk-free trial and see the impact right away. So if you're stuck between junior offshore talent and breaking the bank, go to fraction.work and find your next senior engineer or CTO. Again, that's fraction.work. Fraction, senior talent, fractional cost. Moving right along, it's that time of the show where we got to get into the reload. Want to give you guys my expectations and game scripts for this week, and we've been pretty hot last couple of weeks in terms of picking these games, and so we're going to keep that momentum going as we pop into week 6 here. Let's start with Thursday night, Eagles at Giants. Man, Philly got beat up. The Giants ran wild. Cam Scatterbo punched in 3 touchdowns, and they gashed that front for almost 180 yards. Jackson Dart looked poised, rushed one, threw one, and suddenly the Eagles can't stop a nosebleed. Passing game still stuck in neutral. Run game's getting dragged down with it, essentially. Giants rolled 34. We saw every crack we've been talking about for this Eagles team kind of on display here. And as another side note to Mr. Al Michaels, say the man's name correctly. Tonight, I'm listening to this dude call him Little Jordan Humphreys. The man's name is Lil, L-I-L, Lil Jordan Humphreys, Lil apostrophe Jordan. That's what his mom names him. That's what he should be allowed to be called. You can't tell me that you can't figure that out. That sounds like you didn't want to say it. You didn't want to say the name, but you definitely didn't want to say the Lil, so you compromised by saying the Little. If you make it to the NFL and you work your ass off and you get there, you should get your name said right. You should get your name said correctly by the broadcaster. You can say Greek names. You can say African names. You can say all those different kind of names and practice them and be ready for them. But you can't say Lil, L-I-L. I'm not buying it. Do better. You want to be a broadcaster? Broadcast the damn guy's name. If you can't do that, get out of the booth. Reload. Broncos versus Jets in London. Man, we're hot this week. The Jets defense gives up points like it's their job, essentially. So we saw that transpire. Over 31 points a game so far is what they're into this season. Denver's front was, they had 20 plus sacks through 5 weeks, and so they're out there hunting. They made it tough as they could, but again, we saw Fields get production. Looking forward to this week. We saw Fields get production in garbage time last week, but I know that Denver is going to be hunting him down because of those sacks, right? And so I'm not touching the Jets for DFS at all this week for the most part. For seasonal, they're fine. Garbage time is where we think that they're going to help us in seasonal. But, your Broncos are live. Play them, love them, get in there with your Broncos. Broncos win across the pond. Reload. Browns at the Steelers. Dylan Gabriel looked decent last week, but He's walking into the number one D-line in football. Let's pay attention to that. Watt, Hayward, those dudes, Watt, those dudes are wrecking shops, essentially. Judkins still playable, Njoku over Fanning, and Metcalf's rolling for Pittsburgh. So shared backfield with Warren easing back in. I'm not too invested in that, but for seasonal, if you need Warren, that's fine. Gainwell, I maybe see if you got somebody else. But I'm going to take Steelers at home in this one. They're going to be too physical for the Browns, who want to keep it close with their divisional foe. Reload. Chargers at the Dolphins. Miami's O-line is giving up pressure. LA's giving up more, actually. It's ugly up front in this one. So I'm fading the run, leading Herbert, Allen, Lab McConkey stacks. Gatson is a sneaky play at tight end for the Chargers. Chargers offense gets right this week. I'm going to take Bolts on the road. You could bring it back with Waddle on the other side. I don't know that I have interest in Waller this week or HN, who's banged up. Reload. Patriots at the Saints. The Saints line has been Swiss cheese, and the Pats defense eats cheese for life. May to Diggs makes sense this week. Diggs is cash game safe if you ask me. May, I want to say tournament fine, but we don't have a lot of options for quarterback this week in my opinion. But anyway, look at him. Saints side, maybe a little Jawan Johnson, maybe some Taysom Hill gadget stuff if you're into that type of stuff. But that's it. Patriots still won on defense on the road there. Reload. Rams at the Ravens. No Lamar again. That's all you need to know. Baltimore's offense lost without Lamar, and the Rams front is going to feast on this team. Kyron Williams is playable. That's cash game. Rams defense is playable. Even the pass game is fine for seasonal. Rams dominate on the road. I'll consider using Puka in cash too. Reload. Cardinals at the Colts. Arizona is still allergic to stopping the run for whatever reason. Jonathan Taylor is going to eat this week, and the Colts defense stays hot. For sure. Now, on the other side, Marvin Harrison Jr., he could flash. He could, but Indy's too balanced. Fade the Cardinals run. Colts roll in this one. Reload. Seahawks at the Jaguars. Seahawks down half a secondary, as I mentioned earlier. 3 guys trending doubtful, trending down. Could be out without all of them. This team can't cover a lampshade if that happens. Brian Thomas and Etienne both in play. Smith and Jigba viable for GPPs this week, or tournaments as they call them. But Jacksonville's ground game will decide this. I'm going to take the Jags at home. I do like Trevor Lawrence based off of the fact that they don't have as much support in the secondary as Seattle. So I'm going to take him in cash games this week personally. You're going to see my DFS lineup and my options for tournaments, but for cash, I'm going with that dude. We can pay down and get a lot into our lineup. Reload. Cowboys at the 49ers. Dallas has been stacking yards. Carolina cannot stop the run. Simple math. Rico Dowdle. I think he gets squeezed here, though. The Panthers are going to be chasing points, and so the opportunity for him goes away a bit, in my opinion. Look, gets the comeback dart against the Dallas production. Give me Javonte Williams. That's cash game play. Then that Dallas defense, I'll play that this week too. Dallas wins easy. Reload. Titans at the Chargers. 2 bad teams equals weird fantasy points, in my opinion. Raiders O-line can't block a tweet. Titans have life with Ayominar and Pollard. That's where they live. Raiders might win ugly, but both sides can produce. I do like Meyer bringing it back. As I mentioned, there's no Brock Bowers. I want to invest in the second backup tight end there. Think low rent shootout in this one. Reload. 49ers at the Buccaneers. The Bucs are missing everybody. No Evans, no Godwin. 2 corners are down. Banged up line. Niners will be dumb not to key in on Ibuka, so I'll fade him for DFS. Sterling Shepard's a dart throw, but I like him. You got to fit that in for cash. Who else they got? Who else they going to go to? You go to him. Jake Tongas, too, on the other side for the 49ers. They're going to have to get to him. They're still banged up in the wide receiver core, but they got Juwan Jennings. That's a cash game play this week. Who else they going to? Baker will fight in this one, but I think this is one of those games where that just simply means more picks. San Fran walks out smiling on the road. Reload. Bengals at the Packers. No Flacco yet. Not installed. It's only been a couple of days, so we get Browning again. That means Chase Brown and Jamar Chase are your life rafts in this one. Really like Chase Brown from a production standpoint. They have to try to establish the run. He's going to be out there, right? We need to take advantage of that. Jamar Chase, from a seasonal perspective, makes sense. We know that Browning can hit him. I don't think I need to get there in DFS to try to get too cute against this Green Bay defense. Green Bay is going to lead for their part heavily on Josh Jacobs in that home crowd. Packers run it, control it, and take it. Packers D is in the question for DFS. Reloads. Lions at the Chiefs. Sunday night game here. Detroit wants to bully you, and Kansas City hates that. Expect both runners, Gibbs and Monty, to get volume. Goff finds St. Brown. I like that aspect for Detroit. Mahomes spreads it thin, and I think they can win late. He spreads it around to his receivers. I don't like one over the other. Chiefs by a hair. Home edge matters here in this one. And moving on to Monday night, we got two games. First of those, Bills at the Falcons. Buffalo needs a reset, and they get it here after that upset last week. Josh Allen rights the ship. James Cook eats clock, and the Bills D rebounds. On the other side, Drake London's a cash safe play if you're going to play on a Monday slate or a total weekend slate there. Pitts is more of a tourney dart. If you can stomach it even, I think I'll have to in seasonal at some point this week in one of my leagues. But the Bills bounce back strong in this one, and we got our final shot. We'll make it a good one. Reload. Bears at Commanders. Commanders defense is nasty, and the Bears are turnover happy. Caleb Williams will flash. He's also thrown it away a little bit, so I expect that. Dunze and Swift are your fantasy outs in this game. Jaden Daniels is the real play right here. McLaurin cooks this secondary. Commanders handle business at home. Guys, that is our reload section for week 6. I hope that helps you guys make your picks and decide how you need to play it when you look at your lineups and when you look at where you want to go in DFS. Now's the time of the show where we have to give a special shout out to the Downey Razorbacks, the AAU Downey Razorbacks. Last week went over to East Los Angeles, and took on the Rams and came away with a big dub, 40-0. Still let up no points yet on the season. Kudos to you Razorbacks. Got a bit of a tougher matchup coming up this week. We'll see what you guys can do as we record this here on a Friday night. And you got that homecoming special on Saturday. Good luck, boys. Play hard and enjoy yourselves and have fun. All right. Time for the part of the show where we get into our DFS picks here. You guys are going to notice the theme as I get it up on the screen here for you. Heavy on the wide receiver, pretty thin everywhere else. So we're using a lot of the same sort of configurations and just swapping out wide receivers. I obviously like a lot of wide receivers this week. This is good for tournaments, but I'm giving you less options than I have all year for quarterback. There's just a few options for tight end. I feel like, actually there's more for tight end this week. I feel better about more tight ends, but they're all going to kind of get around the same production. Running back, we got a few options. Defense, I gave you a couple of things. Most notably, we got a pay down option, but let's get into it. So, quarterbacks, Baker Mayfield, Justin Herbert, Drake May, but Trevor Lawrence is the guy rolling out in cash. There's just not a great bunch of quarterback options on the main slate. I, for whatever reason, feel like this is a week that we can consider paying up at running back. You can pay down at wide receiver. There's a bunch of options, but Puka Nacua, I feel, is cash safe this week. Talked about that. Smith and Jigba, I like him at 7,600, and we can cascade down from there. I do want to notate Brian Thomas for sure as a cash game play. Jacoby Myers, on the fence about whether it's cash or not. If you need to use him there, that's fine. It's just he's going to get the looks in production. But, tournaments, I like these guys. Adams at 6,700, Waddle at 6,100. Fully expect that he can get another long bomb touchdown this week. I do like Stephon Diggs as well at that price. Ladd McConkey and Keenan Allen. I won't put them together. I'll do separate Herbert lineups with each of those guys in them. And I'll probably do one with Gadsden, but without those guys. So that's 3 lineups right there, right? This is what I mean by using a core set of guys, but just changing up the variants. Michael Pittman Jr. for sure. Jawan Jennings. I don't have that mark with the C, but I should. That, to me, that is a cash game play. Don't know who else they had to throw it to other than Tongas, right? And so I like that a lot this week. I won't be shying away from that for anything. And Tongas is a cash game play too. But if you keep going down the wide receiver list there, D-Hop, tournament dart, I like Flowers less with the backup QB than I do Hopkins. Hopkins scored last week. Leggett coming on at this point. It's taken forever in his career, but here we are. He's an option, but certainly not as good as Ayo Manura this week, who is a cash game. So if I had to pick between the two, Leggett is a tournament. They're the same price. Malik Washington from Dolphins, $3,700. I expect them to be chasing, and so all of them can't go to Waddle. We're waiting for that breakout. But also Washington from the Jaguars as well. this is a guy we want to invest in. Besides Brian Thomas, as I said, if there's 3 cornerbacks out, there's going to be other options for other people. I don't think it goes to tight end. We're talking about Washington. We're talking about Washington in Jacksonville. For the tight ends, I love Warren this week. I would almost say you could play him for cash game. He's a bit expensive, but if you want to do that, you can. Hunter Henry's also good for cash game this week against that Saints defense. Tongas, we just talked about. There are a lot of good options. You can feel fine about whoever you play. So my thing is get your core in and then just plug in the defense and the tight end based off the amount of money that you need to spend. That is how I'm building this out for you guys. So I'm giving you tight ends at a bunch of different price points that make a hell of a lot of sense for me. Juwan Johnson down there, powerful stuff at that price. You know, even Smith at $3,200 for Pittsburgh. You know, these are players that Jonnu Smith, these are players we can't ignore. Gatson is the dart throw at 2,600. That's a salary saver. That's like a milli maker sort of a dart there. But running back, fully going to pay up for JT. RB1 at this point, guys. McCaffrey makes a lot of sense as a tournament play, not a cash game play, but as a tournament play, makes a lot of sense for me this week. And we can afford to pay up if we pay down with some of those wide receivers. But Josh Jacobs, we can't ignore. Kyron. Again, small core of guys, but all these guys are usable. And so these guys all in cash, right? But Walker, you see I have in tournament. I have Charbonnet next to him right there because I would recommend using them together. I don't know why you wouldn't do that. Try to exploit the full advantage of that run game because we don't want to get vultured on the touchdown. Who gets it? Who doesn't? Judkins, $5,900. I bought him out there, but man, is he a good option. Good, strong runner. He's coming on strong last couple of weeks, and now people are starting to see what we've known pretty much all along, essentially, about the dude. And then for defense, again, I've got you some options from 3,700 at the top. You know, you could price it up with Packers and Rams if you want. Colts was a moneymaker for us last week. I'm putting them as cash this week, but in my cash game full candidness, I'm going to play the Patriots because with the way that I set it all up, it just worked out that way that I could afford the Patriots, but not the Colts. But at $3,100 versus the Saints, I'm fine with that. Versus, you know, they just played the Bills and played them tough. The Saints are not going to be a big issue, I don't expect. This is the NFL. We got to play it to see, right? Cowboys, I like them at 3K. I don't think many people will be thinking about them. They're thinking about them as a team to attack. I think this is a week where they hold the line. So at 3K, I'm interested. Certainly for seasonal, if you're in the pinch, try that. And then the Saints at $2,400 tournament darts. Again, New England, better opponent than the Saints, but they're not world beaters. They're just the New England Patriots, right? And so I don't have a problem if you want to bottom out with the Saints against those guys. That makes a lot of sense to me. We can save money and try to do things somewhere else, essentially. That's how it shapes up for me at DFS this week, guys. Good luck to you. Hopefully that helps you fill out your lineups. I've tried to give you guys at various different price points that make a lot of sense, if that makes sense to you. But as I said, good luck. And at that, we're going to round it out, ladies and gents. We'll talk a little housekeeping and be on our way. First tip I got 2 tips for you guys this week. Keep it simple. Keep everybody straightforward and focused. Tip number 1 is the ownership aspect of DFS. Do not chase what we saw last week with Rico Dowdle. People are going to be chasing that. There are other areas that you may go, right? And as an extension of ownership judo, because you don't want to go where all the popular people are going to be. I've talked on this show a couple of weeks now in a row about why you can't play popular plays and why chalk doesn't pay off, right? And so that's a chalk player this week. You know who else is chalk this week? Kamani Vidal, or even trying to play Haskins, wanting to pay down for those guys and get cute. Let's let other people do that, okay? We have a scenario where Omarion Hampton's on IR. The Chargers backfield is a guessing game at this point. That doesn't mean pick one and guess. What that means is it usually means a pass rate bump. They're going to do more of what they're sure of, which is pass more, which is why we recommend Herbert this week. Probably should be playing him in cash games. May think about making that pivot. It makes sense based on just what we're seeing from the injury aspect of everything, right? So instead of eating running back chalk with one of the 3rd or the 4th string guys like everybody else is going to do with that banged up O-line, let's lean into a Chargers, Dolphins passing a stack that lets the field donate with thin running back darts. We'll just sort of pass everybody by, right? We can bring the Chargers back with Waddle, even a deep bring back on a Millie Maker tournament with Malik Washington. Boom. Second tip that I have for you guys this week is, use the tight end kind of as a salary saver, meaning I'm giving you options at every price point. So I'm filling that in one of the last pieces, like I said, and just plug in a guy that has the salary that fits with what you need. Don't get cute with it this week. There are a lot of options, and none of these guys are going to set the world on fire. You guys notice I'm fading Ferguson. Going to be way too popular. No way we can win with that. Having him in your lineup makes you susceptible to everybody else in that lineup. Now your builds are going to be so different or so much the same, right? So just something to think about there. And then actually a third tip that piggybacks off of that is going to have to be thinking about leaving money on the table. I want to keep reminding you guys about that. Don't bottom out when you're making your DK lineup. All the money you have, they give you $50,000 to compose, or 50,000 points, however you want to look at it, to compose that lineup on DK. Don't use them all. That's what the optimizers do. So everybody using those optimizer lineups and stuff like that, and that concept, you're going to be different from them if you leave a little money on the table. And as I've said until I'm blue in the face, being different is how we win in DFS. All right, that's our show for you guys this week. Hopefully you find some value in that. Good luck to everybody on Sunday. Let's huddle back up here next week where we'll talk about what happened, review and rehash, have some accountability, and go over what we're looking for week 7, and just go once again, learn, scout, repeat.